All right, just give me like 2 minutes, make sure my YouTube is straight, and then I'm going to start. All right, just make sure y'all tweet this out because we got a lot to talk about before, you know, the Maryland grassroots goes off on this Westmore at 2 o'clock. So I'm probably try to end it like around 1:45. Yeah, I'm gonna end it at 1:45. All right, let's begin. Let's begin. All right. So good afternoon to everyone. I hope everyone's having a great day out there. The sun's shining, and you black will get your melanin count rising. But in between now, we got to discuss these black politicians because today is the 8th, and we're officially about what is it, 30, 31 days away. 31 days away. And a lot of these politicians now they're at the last quarter mile, and they're going to do everything in their power to make sure to get us back on the plantation and to keep us on the plantation by giving us symbolism and no concrete tangibles. Now, I know I put Westmore and Stacey Abrams in the title, but there's a lot of them that we have to analyze and realize that they're not for us. They're for everybody else that's not born, bred Black American. So for the past, I want to say 5 days, again, thanks to Miss Great Ape for putting me on to this man, I've been going at Westmore's neck because looking at his platform, this man is not for Black people. I mean, he specifically said this on his campaign website with a whole section dedicated to Black families. But when you go read it, there's nothing in there about Black families. It's Black and brown, it's Latinx, and there's nothing specifically for Black families. Then you also move on and find out that he's pro-immigration, which we all know does not help Black people. No way, shape, or form. Because it's about getting jobs taken away, equity taken away, and we have to deal with the consequences. So Tori and myself did videos on this man, and Miss Great Ape and people like Roz from the DMV have done their due diligence to make sure to get the word out to cities like Baltimore and Annapolis and other places to make sure that people understand the issues we have with Westmore. And like I said, they're doing a rally at Baltimore City Hall at 2 o'clock. So if you're out there and you're from Maryland, please go out and support them. Now we move on to Georgia. Now, Stacey Abrams is doing everything she can to court black men to come vote for her. Even as far as now, she did an interview with Cam Newton on his YouTube channel. So after this, I'm gonna go see if it's available and go check it out. But I'm already seeing that they said Cam Newton was probably on code because he started asking the pertinent questions. But from the grassroots level, this woman is going to be the death of black people in Atlanta and Georgia as a whole if November 8th we don't do the right thing and make sure she loses. Her policies are geared towards every other group, especially AAPI, and not for black folks. She's using black men as a political prop because she thinks that we respond to symbolism in 2022. I guess she didn't get the memo. And also Warnock's up as well. Now, I don't like Herschel Walker. I don't, but I understand what he represents. He represents a return to the status quo because the white folk will vote for that man just to get back some sense of normalcy. And he's also been on the record about no reparations. And I don't know, let me see. Let me ask Nikki. I know Nikki probably got it. Hey, Nikki, if you have the video, because I don't want to search for it right now. I know it's on my page, but can you put up the video of Marcel running up on that man on Thursday? The folk need to see that again. That man turned his back.
I couldn't hear you.
Now I was saying, if you have can you put up the video of Marcel running down on Warnock on Thursday?
Of course.
Can you put that in the jumbo?
Of course.
Yes. Put that in there because if that doesn't tell you what they think about the calls for reparations for Black American descendants of chattel slavery, please show this to the doubters and oh, y'all don't need to get it because your people, everybody was enslaved. Send that to them, please. And he's talking, he wants to represent a state where there's a majority Black population. So yeah, we got to get him. He got to be a one-term senator. So I'm calling on Georgia to make the right decision. I know we don't like Herschel Walker either, and we'd rather stay home, but at this point, just to make sure Warnock don't get in, I think we can deal with Herschel Walker for about 6 years and then run him out the paint. Unless he has a scandal that fucks up his whole thing. Then, we'll support that. But we can't let Warnock get in because those two together are going to destroy us in this state. And we have generations of children coming behind us that need to be able to compete in this state. I've already talked about Mandela Barnes up in Wisconsin. He's another one who's trying to angle to get into the squad, and he's pro-immigration as well, and he's pro-police, just like Westmore is. And Stacey Abrams and Warnock, they have especially Stacey and Raphael, they have a whole $300 million plan to equip the cops with more resources. Yeah, we could use those $300 million to prop up Black people in this state. But of course, they don't want to do that because you know what happens when Black people have economic stability and political stability. Black people run the yard. And I'm sure everybody heard Tariq and Joe Collins going at it the other day. I wanted that man to beat Maxine Waters, but then I said, okay, after he lost, let me look up, see what this man's about. He another one. He's coming off like a rhino. And he's running for a different district, I think District 36 out there in California, against Ted Lieu. I'm going to kind of pay attention to that race, but I think he's probably going to lose because I think that's a Democratic area, so it is what it is. But if anybody's in here from another state and knows of any other races that are important, come up, let me know so I can start looking into it. Because I want to make sure between now and at least November 7th, you guys have all the tools necessary if you do go to the voting booth that you know which each candidate is standing for, especially the ones that are trying to talk for us. Nikki, go ahead.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. Like I said, if anybody wants to come up and say something, please, it's an open forum. We're not here to pass judgment. And if y'all could do me a favor, start tweeting some of these black politicians. Let's see if some of them got enough nuts to come up in here and try to talk to us and try to tell us about their platforms. Because I've been doing it all week. But, you know, I think if more voices come out and more people tweet them, maybe they'll get some nuts, but I don't think they will. Because I don't think they want to see this many black people in here asking for some accountability and some questions. But Ms. Grade 8, if you could come up and just explain what's going on at 2:00, that would be great for Baltimore. So people know who's in Maryland or in that area. Maybe they come down, we can grow those numbers.
So from what I know about him is that he just wasn't forthcoming about his background and who he is and his lineage. That's what I understood. And I do know that he's not for black people, but why would he lie about who he is?
Because from what we dug up, they're trying to make him the next Obama. Because even people were saying, hey, he said he's a proud Baltimore son, but nobody in Baltimore knows who he is. Like they've never seen him before, which is kind of strange. But again, we've seen this playbook.
Do we know if he is part of any specific organizations?
Yes, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but he has ties to this organization called the Academic Exchange, which is an Israeli think tank, and they also are in bed with something called JINSA, and JINSA basically is an Israeli organization who has, for the past, I want to say 30 years, have been training a lot of the law enforcement in this country on tactics, especially dealing with terrorism. And that's a major red flag because a lot of what's been going on the last 30 years, a lot of that comes from that JINSA training. And I actually plan on doing a video about that next week because there's a lot in there that we need to be knowledge of. Okay, Ms. Grade 8, you're good now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for this space. Kid Gravity, you came up with the hashtag the other night, and we need to get it out there. No more.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I'm just asking all of you respectfully, this is the easiest thing we could do right now. None of you have to fly out here and protest or write emails or contact his campaign. None of you have to do anything other than please like and retweet anything regarding him that shows who he is, just for the next 4 weeks, please. Follow him, put on notifications for him. This is a big deal. Oprah Winfrey supports him, Gwyneth Paltrow. Also, these people don't care about us. They don't know anything about us. This man, Wes Moore, led the public to believe that he grew up on the streets of Baltimore. I don't know if any of you have ever been on the streets of Baltimore, not the nice part, but I've been going to Baltimore on and off since the early 90s. I have family there. I was there a few years ago helping out a film producer, and we were just doing our thing in his office, and there were just gunshots going off nonstop in the street, and then the cops were coming, and he just kept editing the video, and I was like, shouldn't we be doing something? He's like, no, this is normal. So Wes Moore didn't get to Baltimore until he was 20 years old to go to Johns Hopkins University, and then had the audacity in 2010 to publish a book called The Other Wes Moore, because he heard of the name of a man who did grow up on the streets of Baltimore who went to prison for life for murder, allegedly. Okay, from what I know, he didn't do it. He was just hanging with the wrong crowd and didn't take a plea deal. I didn't read the book because I thought, anyway, he used this man and made all this money off this book. Okay, and he's just like Obama and Will Jawando. They write these books, they put their face on the cover, they pretend to represent Black people. They never talk about us, but they use us and make money off of us. He lives in a white neighborhood in Maryland right now, outside of Baltimore. It's 8,000. His house is 8,000 square feet, $2.25 million estimated value. He has yet to ever address us. If you go to his timeline, he talks about Muslims and Jews and immigrants and migrants and illegal aliens, everyone but us. And I got to tell you, the Black voters in Maryland are already supporting him because they haven't come to the point yet where they understand vote blue no matter who is ineffective. So we're in trouble. I want to tell you all, he wants to make Maryland a sanctuary state. I live in Montgomery County next to DC. Y'all already know what's happening in DC with migrants. I've been here for 8 years. I've been in DC on and off for over 20 years, okay? I moved here 8 years ago. This is a sanctuary county. We have issues with MS-13. We had a Black Metro driver who was kidnapped and assaulted by MS-13. It wasn't in the news. One small article. We have crime. I live in a nice area, and 2 blocks from me, there was a woman who was assaulted and raped by an illegal alien. It's a sanctuary county, so the guy was protected. He wasn't deported. He was here illegally and wasn't deported. Now, I confronted the county executive in August, and I'm going to I'm getting emotional. I'm going to transcribe. I recorded our interview. I asked him about reparations. This guy has a tremendous amount of power. This county has 1 million people in it. He said it was not his issue because it's a national issue. He had the audacity last night to tweet out about abortion and climate change, okay? So my goal before the end of the weekend is to have that full interview transcribed with audio. Okay, but back to Westmore. I'm just asking all of you, please, do the simple thing and just start educating the people that you know. You're going to see a lot of people on his timeline that support him, a lot of white progressives. I live in a very white progressive county. And he's gonna we're below the bottom, and he's gonna make it even worse for us. His dad died, I guess, when he was like 4 or something. So he was raised by his Jamaican immigrant mother in the Bronx, and then Tacoma Park, Maryland. Which, if any of you have been there, Tacoma Park is nice. Okay, it's not the streets of Baltimore. He's a fraud. He's Obama 2.0. I'll land my plane.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Yeah, we can't the Black community, especially the descendants of child slavery, cannot go through Obama again, especially in Maryland, because Maryland, what they're trying to do, they're trying to turn Maryland into California 2.0 because of its proximity to DC. They can't survive that. And that's why Miss Great Ape and myself and others, we've been going hard the last week trying to make sure that we get that message out to the people, because we understand that Baltimore is a very blue city and Maryland's blue right now. And as long as you got a D next to your name, they're going to vote for you, regardless of what you're talking about. And we're not big fans of Dan Cox either, because he heavy MAGA and all that, but they would rather, from what Ms. Great Ape's telling me, she would rather deal with that man first for a couple of years and keep working on the reparations for Maryland and making sure Maryland's straight than deal with Westmore trying to undermine everything they're doing. So we just got to make sure, like, we put out a hashtag no more MOORE. So anything you see from that man, like she said, or anything that I've posted, make sure you just retweet that out. The more faces that see it, the more visibility it gets. Put the pressure on them. Miss Great Ape and then Black Alpha.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've been trying to get people to see. And I know some of y'all will disagree with me, but we are in triage mode. We are bleeding to death right now. And although Dan Cox is not for reparations, there are strategic and political ways that we can get around that, including at the county level. He is pro 2A, okay? And we all should be pro 2A. In fact, I found someone last weekend who's going to train me and help me get certified. I grew up around guns because my dad was a Texan, but I never learned to shoot, and so it's time. Dan Cox is pro 2A, and he is anti-illegal aliens, anti-sanctuary state, pro-immigration moratorium, in terms of chain migration, E-Verify, I'd rather have within the next 4 weeks, I'd rather have that in office, okay, than Wes Moore. Let's stop the bleeding, and then let's get on the reparations aspect for Maryland, okay? That's where I'm coming from. I know people who are doing some things behind the scenes that I can't really talk about, but they have been consulting people about reparations and how to get that done at the county and state level. They're just starting the process, but I'm just letting you know that I would rather vote for Dan Cox tomorrow than let Wes Moore win. And I reached out to Dan Cox's campaign via Twitter, and they contacted me. His campaign manager and Dan Cox contacted me over email. So we're trying to set up a call so I can understand, like, what can you do anything regarding your platform within the next 4 weeks when it comes to American freedmen. So I'm working on that. So I land my plane.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And if you could send me over that email, I want to try to talk to him as well.
Will do.
Right,
can you DM me your email on the back channel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Black Alpha. Yes, ma'am. Black Alpha, go ahead.
Peace and love, family. Salute to you, brother Kid, Nikki, everybody in the the room or whatnot. Man, there's been a lot going on down here. Kid, you as well. You know what's going on down here in the South and deep Georgia, shall I say? I think, matter of fact, we talked about, a lot of things going on a couple months ago, me and you, Kid, and now you're starting to see it all come to fruition. Just to update everybody on what's really going on in the down south area, particularly in southern Georgia. Southern Georgia is completely different than northern Georgia. Okay, basically Georgia is Atlanta, and then it's everybody else. Atlanta has a different move to it, has a whole different vibe to it. But people down in the deep south, where I'm towards, close to the Florida border, Savannah, Stacey Abrams I don't want to say she holds no weight. Obviously, she does. But she's not known, shall I say, down here. Nobody deals with Stacey Abrams at all, okay? She's a nobody. Her whole vibe is catering to a lot of transplants in Atlanta. Okay, outside of Atlanta, they don't have that mix of people. There's not that huge influx of outsiders and people. Kids, you know what I'm talking about. Atlanta's not even the same Atlanta it was 10 years ago. Atlanta's a lot different. It's not definitely what it was 20 years ago. Atlanta is so mixed and it's such a melting pot that this is where she plants her flag, and a lot of her policies are to cater to all those other types of groups in Atlanta. When you start leaving Atlanta and you start going into the Augustas of the world, the Columbus of the world, the Savannahs of the world, you start going into these small places, the game changes, and they're not really aware and astute on a lot of these policies that are all lives matter. And on top of that, the whole state of Georgia has changed, and there's been a shift. That reverse migration strategy that really started in the late 1970s and 80s, you start to see an effect. Georgia has a lot of transplants, but I would say the people who transplant down to Georgia that don't go to Atlanta, they still have more of a, an honest mentality, where in Atlanta, there's a takeover. Atlanta's been completely regendified. That doesn't really necessarily go on everywhere else. When you come to another place in Georgia outside of Atlanta, you assimilate to the culture. In Atlanta, they start to try to change the culture. So that's why Atlanta has went through a transformation, but places like Augusta and Savannah, they really don't, no matter who comes down there. Stacey Abrams, a lot of people don't really know her. They really don't know her. They might see her around and hear, but the guy Kemp, he's whooping her up. Like, she's getting served right now. She's nowhere to be found. And this shows you once again that those policies of all lives matter and all that stuff that she talks, she doesn't really have any type of strength behind it, because the people outside of Atlanta, once again, do not receive that message. Now, when it comes to Warnock, that's a tricky situation when you deal with Warnock. Warnock is from Savannah, and Warnock runs on a platform that he's like some regular guy, because there's a couple projects that he went to or that he lived in, and a couple schools in those projects that he went to. So he kind of leans on that. But once again, people down here, they don't really deal with him. But I mean, Herschel Walker is probably the worst political candidate, maybe of all time. I mean, the guy can barely even speak. You know what I'm saying? So when you start dealing with these two individuals, you're basically dealing with a situation where you're going to have the same old. You're going to get a guy who's an ultra Republican, and then you're going to get a guy who's an ultra Democrat, and they're both black men who are getting notes handed to them by the dominant society. But the state of Georgia, I would say all eyes are on Georgia, because the Democrats and the Republicans have put a lot of resources in those two political campaigns. If you look at the Joe Biden election, well, they claim that, Donald Trump lost Georgia, turned, blue for the first time. I don't know how true that is, whatever. But at the end of the day, all eyes are going to be on Georgia and what happens down here, because they're in a full court press, a blitz, a media blitz every single day. My whole, last 2 weeks, I've been getting mail. I mean, literally people just writing like with a damn pen and just, putting out propaganda pieces saying vote Warnock, vote Warnock. So you see the Democrats are spending a lot of money to get Warnock to win. And he's up right now, but I think that's more because Herschel Walker is, insane. I think that's probably so what it is. But in terms of him having actual support from the people and the people really dealing with him, that's not the case. It's really not the case. This is probably one of the most soft, stale, really kind of no special effects involved in this election. All the candidates are horrible. They're terrible. So it's basically, picking your poison. Which one do you want that's going to be terrible? There's nobody that's substantial. This is more of a reason why we do have to raise black grassroots candidates. People that can really come out the mud, because what has been presented to us in the state of Georgia is completely terrible. Kemp is completely terrible. His track record speaks for it. Stacey Abrams is completely terrible. She's a concocted individual that truly has no type of positioning. They ran her around like she was some type of Mammy Luther King. No one really knows what she is. I think a lot of people were under this type of guise that Stacey Abrams was a senator or something. And no, she's not. She's never won any political office. She's just completely a creation of the Democratic Party. Warnock is nobody. He's nobody at all. The streets don't mess with him. And then obviously everybody else is just, under the water. So the state of Georgia is going through a transformation right now. The state of Georgia has a lot of people who are coming in from the Midwest and from up north, and they're starting to change the electoral process, which is a good thing. So right now is really the key time for people to really start building and making new candidates that can really usher out these people. But in terms of this election, it's more serious between the Democrats and the Republicans in a tug of war situation than it is in providing tangibles for foundational Black Americans, because none of these candidates, none of them will do a goddamn thing for foundational Black Americans. It's just not in the cards. It's not in the cards. The best thing is to move out some of these, baby boomers, some of these Christian vote blue no matter who folks, because they're going to vote Democrat forever. It's just what it's going to be. As a matter of fact, the voter drives are held at all the churches here. Okay, this is where they register to vote. This is where you vote, down here at the churches. And if you come in there speaking anything about tangibles, they won't even know what a tangible means. They'd have to pull out the dictionary and look. So right now, all eyes are on Georgia politically, and we'll see within, the next few weeks. But nothing's really substantially going to change in terms of the politicians here. It's going to be the same old, same old. And I got a question for you, kid. In Atlanta, what's the position that how they feel about Warnock? Because I know they don't give a damn about Stacey Abrams down here. How's Warnock viewed up there?
Well, before I answer that, I just want everybody to realize that Stacey Abrams is a former romance novel writer. I just want y'all to recognize that.
Fiction, then.
Yeah, it's all fiction, but she used to write Black love novels, but we off that. Warnock, you got to understand, folks, Warnock is banking on Atlanta coming out strong for him, because Atlanta is the big city of this state, and he probably figures that the up north tactic of if you can get one of the big liberal cities on your side, you're automatically going to win. So he's staying up here, just like Stacey is, because Stacey dare not go further south than Atlanta Airport, because that's just going to be, people are really going to ask her questions. So you see her in Kennesaw, you'll see her in Savannah once, but you'll see her, she'll go to Buckhead before she'll go to Brunswick. Same thing with Warnock. They're not going down that far because they just want to stay to the liberals. Warnock, of course, he's getting the Atlanta support, but I'm pretty sure further down south, they're like, man, F this dude. They'd rather deal with Herschel Walker because he brought the state of championship in college. And again, he represents the status quo back to normalcy. They see the Trump connection. They're like, they want Trump back, so they'll vote for him. We got to be careful. If you're in Georgia, you got to be careful, because it's like Black Alpha said, you got the up north people from where I'm from, you got the Midwest people, but you also got to start watching. There's a lot more California plates I've been seeing in Atlanta since I've been down here, because Texas is starting to tighten their reins over there, and stuff is starting to get a little bit more expensive than they thought. So now they're starting to move closer over here, because Tennessee, they ain't going over there to mess with Tennessee. Because them white boys over there, they don't play that shit. So they're coming here because they're looking at this as a liberal haven. And I'm warning y'all now, if Stacey wins, them Asians are coming for Atlanta. And the optics of the Asian community, I'll say it like this. Every group in this country can lay claim to a major city. Like black folks can lay claim to Atlanta. The Latinos can lay claim to places like Houston and Miami. White folk can lay claim to cities like Boston and all that. The Asians do not have a city that they can call their own, that they're running. They want Atlanta. And Stacey's been actively helping them do this for a decade. She's been on their radio program. She's been telling them what was going on while she was a city council member. She wasn't doing that for black folks. When Biden won in 2020, NBC ran an article saying that, yes, they were the electorate that got Biden the election. They said they were coming for Atlanta. That's when my political antenna started raising. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch them. Then we saw what happened about 4 months later after he got in. Them Asians got killed down here. They got their money. They got their task force. We didn't get shit. We got looked at like it was our fault, even though a white boy did it. We have to watch Stacey for the next 30 days because Kemp went down here and did a whole event on Wednesday with black men. And from the feedback I'm getting from there, black men asked him the hard questions and he came with sufficient answers to the point where they said, okay, you know what? We'll consider voting for you, but if you win, we're going to hold you to what you said. Because he was talking about really putting money into black male businesses and doing things to help the black family. They challenged him on it and they said, we're going to hold you to that. Ever since she found that out, she went on a tweeting spree Wednesday and Thursday trying to discredit that man. Now, again, I don't like Kemp like that, but I'd rather deal with him for 4 more years and then he leaves than deal with her for 4 or 8 and we're basically erased in this entire state. We can't have that.
Black Alpha, would you like to talk now?
Yeah, hey, that's a good point, kid. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about that, family. And I think we spoke about it before in the back channels a little bit, where you're right. Atlanta is the mecca of foundational Black America. You know, it used to be Harlem, then it was Detroit, and then it became Atlanta, particularly in the early 2000s. There has been a big push to regenify Atlanta. And that's to solely and strategically take away the mecca of foundational Black Americans. And that does not get spoke about enough in the circles of foundational Black American freedmen. They have been trying to take Atlanta away from us. You guys know all of the agendas. I'm not going to say them all here. Y'all know all of the agendas that they push in Atlanta. It's got a lot of colors in them flags. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That is only one element of them trying to reverse migrate Atlanta. Atlanta has changed so much. Everybody knows in Atlanta in the 1990s, that was Black, everything Black. Now, I'm not just talking about hip hop either. I'm talking about your lawyers, your doctors, businesses. You've never seen anything like Black excellence unless you had been to Atlanta in the 1990s and the early 2000s. That's why it was the mecca of foundational Black Americans. And then they understood this, a dominant society. So therefore, they went and did the typical regentrification process in which we've all seen, we're all well aware of. And it's got even worse. It has gotten terrible within the last few years because they are trying to shift that and take that away from us. If you could take away our mecca, where do we point to? You know what I'm saying? Where do we point to? We can point to certain areas and certain regions, but nothing like Atlanta. And everybody else, as Brother Kid was just saying, everybody else has a place, a city that they can point to and say, this is ours. Everybody knows it was Georgia. Put it this way. When you start dealing with things, California is the champion of the West Coast. Okay. New York is the champion of the East Coast. Ohio, I love Chicago, but Chicago is one city. Ohio is the champion of the Midwest, and Georgia is the champion of the South. Okay, those are the 4 predominant regions. And if you start to look, a lot of them have been slipping away. Chicago is the sanctuary city now. You guys know what's happened to New York. Going back from the Harlem Renaissance all the way to now, you see the tethers coming in, and they're trying to completely get us up out of New York. It's been like that for a while, but we've always had a stronghold in New York. Brooklyn now looks like Syracuse. You feel me? This is what they tried to do. California, we already know what's going on. But in the state of Georgia, that's a very, very, very stronghold. Georgia is the mecca of the South. That is what it is, and that's not up for debate for nobody. Okay, I grew up in Georgia. Trust me when I tell you that. It is the mecca. And Atlanta has been the mecca of foundational Black America. So now when you go to Atlanta, there's whole sides of town in Atlanta that look like El Paso, Texas. whole sides of town that look like El Paso, Texas. I'm telling you, I'm not lying. And as well as the AAPI, like Brother Kid was just saying, them as well. You're starting to see them implement these people so they can place them above us. This is why there is such an onus on Georgia. There is such an onus on Atlanta. Everybody's not focusing on these, politicians. When you look at the midterms right now that are going across the country, you hear mostly what? Warnock, and you hear Stacey Abrams, okay? Because everybody is focused on this area of the country. So therefore, voting, as me and my brother Marcel, we spoke of, matter of fact, he did my show and we had a good conversation about reverse migration and trying to build a political prowess right here in the South, but in particular, Georgia, because there is dominant numbers. When you have, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Georgia before, okay? But when you come to Georgia, Georgia is black. Okay, straight up, it is black. Everywhere you go, the corner stores are black. The businesses are black. There's no areas in Georgia where you just sit there and go and you feel unwelcome. You can go down to Florida, and once you get past Duval County and you start going into Central and South Florida, black people just disappear. When you start going up north, black people start to disappear. It's not like that in the South. Okay, in Georgia, everything has foundational black American prints. There's not a lot of tethers running around here. Tethers don't talk crazy in the South like that. They don't. This is truly the Mecca and the motherland of foundational black American freedmen. And we have that in society, but we also got to have that in, the political atmosphere. In terms of the Democrats and the Republicans, one of my principles and one of my mottos is I'd rather negotiate with a Republican than sell my soul to the Democrats. You heard Brother Kid just sit here and say it a minute ago. When Kemp was pressed, and I know what you're talking about, Brother Kid, when Kemp was pressed from black folks, they asked him the questions and he answered it way better than Warnock. Matter of fact, Warnock doesn't even answer it. He just walks away. The same thing Stacey Abrams did when our brother Autodidactic pressed her. She walked away. There's no negotiating with the Democrat because they have put all their ducks in the minority basket. The Republicans are trash. The Democrats are trash. We both understand that. But if you're dealing with somebody in a political structure, in a political atmosphere, the best thing you would want to do is be able to have the access to negotiate. There's no negotiating with the Democratic Party. Clear, because it would be a direct contradiction based upon the minorities that they've promised so many things to. It's either going to be the minorities or it's going to be foundational black Americans. And they've made it clear that they're going with the minorities. So they've taken the aspect of negotiation off the table for us. So therefore, what we have to do is we got to really start going to some of these other parties and we're going to have to start negotiating with them because those other groups, they don't have their whole political campaign tied on minority groups. All right. As a matter of fact, what you come to find out when you visit the South, a lot of these Southern Republicans, they would rather deal with black Americans than they'd rather deal with those other groups. This is what it is. Those other groups they look at as moochers and, we have history down here. We can point to things down south. Okay, today is Saturday. The Georgia Bulldogs going to play, and trust and believe they're going to want to sit down and watch some Georgia Bulldog football. They're not going to necessarily want to do that with no other group from another country. So we have to take advantage of these type of relationships, which gives us a further means to negotiate. And the negotiation process has to start with leaving that Democratic plantation because they will never provide no tangibles for foundational black Americans. On the Republican side, you can use their spite and their anti-immigration policies against the Democrats. We have leverage. We have leverage if we play it correctly. Okay, if you deal with a Democrat who has all of these minority and immigration policies, go negotiate with that Republican. Go negotiate with that Republican. Therefore, you're using one person against them. They like to do that to us. They like to try to divide and conquer us. We have the means of doing so. We could have did it when Donald Trump was talking about build that damn wall. When he was talking about build that wall, this, that, and the other thing, foundational black Americans should have tried to get something from that and use those anti-immigration policies that the Republicans present, use that against the Democrats who care more about illegal aliens who aren't from America than they do about foundational black Americans who built America. It all comes down to this. Joe Biden said this is a country of immigrants and immigrants built America. Donald Trump said black folks built America. That is the difference. Are they both pieces of shit? Yep. Are they both trash? Yep. But at the end of the day, this is business. This ain't personal. And if my business is personal, then that's your personal business. We have to learn how to negotiate. We have to learn how to gain political power and political access by using these two groups against each other. Only time you run into a problem is when you feel you are one of these groups. You feel you're a part of these groups. I don't give a fuck about the Republicans or the Democrats. I take this the same way I do whenever I'm paying the bill. I don't go and say I'm a part of the light bill company. Okay. My lineage ain't the goddamn water company. Okay. I give a fuck about neither one of these goddamn places. If you provide what's best for my people, then we're going to get that. And we're only going to get that through the means of negotiating. And it's been clear that the Democrats would rather negotiate with people who are non-Americans while we could at least hustle the Republican Party in the other aspect. I'll land my plane.
I appreciate that, brother. And he's right. And just to add one thing before I get to Sir Charles, I also saw an article on the 6th that Stacey's AAPI approval is waning. So that could be a good thing because I don't think she's talked to them yet. She's been talking to the Latinos and Black folks. So they say they feel a little neglected. So that might be a good thing, but again, it's incumbent on us because, like Black Alpha said, this is a black state. They're looking at us to see where the move is. But Sir Charles, go ahead.
How's it going, people? Hey, I just had a quick question. I'm actually here in Atlanta myself. So, are you guys saying that is video out of that Brian Kemp when he met with the black guys, or you just know someone that was part of the organization that he was speaking to and just got some feedback?
Both. I saw his tweet, but I also know that I don't know if you're familiar with King Randall. He was there, and
Yeah, I follow him as well.
Yeah, he said that he was there as well, and he talked to him, and he actually had concrete solutions. And he also said he was going to hold him to what he said.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Afro Elite, go ahead, and then Miss Grade 8.
Okay, thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I'm gonna be brief. I always say that, but this is a good topic for a good space. It's a pretty good space. I don't know what exactly was said before, but I'm gonna say this. One of the things that people use as an excuse for the Democrats is they can't offend the other party. So if they go to, because black is supposed to be taboo, doing something for black people is supposed to be taboo. We're like the it's accepted to kind of have disdain for black people and everybody knows it. So if you treat black people normal, it has to be a secret. If you do something to help black people's life out, it's supposed to be a secret because we're a little bit less than human in comparison to everybody else. So when you get out there, you can't really voice how much you're going to help black people. So that's the excuse that that some of the older generation tries to pass down as a, well, it can't be like that because that's going to offend the white folks, that's going to offend the brown folks or whatnot. But my thing is this, is that Stacey Abrams gives a very, very firm answer as to everything else she stands on. When it comes to abortion, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes, and I'm saying abortion and healthcare separately, so y'all know, but when it comes to abortion, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education, business, all that stuff, she seems to give um firm answers on that, or at least she'll speak up on that. Now, when it comes to anything involving black people or to benefit black people, it's all this, we have to talk around every single word. I need a whole book explanation on what this is supposed to mean, and oh well, you have to understand it's the gerrymandering, and she uses all these big fancy, and this is something that all the Democrats do. And the reason why it's not working anymore is because black people are not nearly as loyal to the Democratic Party as our predecessors were. Before, it's like having two different stores, a Republican store and a Democratic store. And no matter how high the price goes up, no matter how low the quality is at the Democratic store, that's just a store that black people are going to go and shop at loyally, without question. But this generation, we're all like, well, if the prices go up too big on the Democratic store, if the quality is too low on the Democratic store, if we have better deals at the Republican store, then that's where we're going. And that's the thing that's getting the Democrats to lose their vote, to lose their credibility, to lose their audience. For the people who are and I'm only saying this for the people who are making excuses for Stacey Abrams not going heavy in the paint, I want you to know that just like Black Alpha said, Georgia has a huge black population. It has, if you think Chicago had a big black population, Chicago's population is about like one third black. Georgia is about about 40 something percent black. So it would be beneficial for her actually politically to go heavy in the paint for advocating for black people, and she's not doing that at all. So it's not because she's scared of losing votes from the other side. She just doesn't want to do anything for black people, and she knows she can't promise that because she'll be held to that standard. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak.
Yes, brother. Thank you. I think at times, I really think Stacey thinks she's running for mayor and not governor. Because I could understand her talking points if she was running for mayor, because you have a small subset. You're going to be responsible for over 18 million people. And like at least over 40% of it is black. But I know the game plan is for her to push black folks further down south so she don't have to deal with us. But again, we can't let that happen. Miss Grady, go ahead.
So I just added a couple of things to the Jumbotron. Well, one I'm adding now. The first is Joe Biden telling us that we're going to have to get used to working with Hispanics. You can Zoom, you can quickly, I know you're all aware of this, but I think it's important that you watch it again. And then as you're trying to convince your family and friends and people on social media why they shouldn't be so happy-go-lucky about the Democrats, just show them this. And then show them, and then talk to them about the book, The Back of the Hiring Line. So you can skip forward to an hour and 14 minutes in on the video. I'm telling you guys, my people perish for lack of knowledge, because imagine if every single one of us voted for Republicans this time and it was in the national news. Now that would give us tremendous leverage. That doesn't guarantee they're going to do shit for us. They are shit, so are Democrats. But that would be historical, and that's a starting point. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, I don't know if you all heard, but the DC mayor, and again, I live one block from DC, and I worked in DC until the pandemic. I work from home now. They just approved a plan to let illegals vote. So I don't know if you all understand this. I've been in DC on and off, like I said, since the late 90s, and I go places now in DC that I don't even recognize. Columbia Heights looks like little Tijuana. I'm not being funny. I've been to Tijuana. I just don't think, when we say we're not going to vote or we won't vote for Republicans, I don't think we understand that that's not strategic. So anyway, check out the chat and the Jumbotron, and I land my plane. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. It's tough out here. It's tough out here, but we're going to get through this. I did say starting July 1st, it's going to get worse, but we're almost through the hurricane, folks. But again, this is our last shot. We have to establish our political dominance. They've been trying to make us the fourth voting bloc. We have to stay at the second. And these midterms are going to be very important on the trajectory we make going forward. So I know everyone likes to take information from Twitter a lot, but I would strongly advise you guys to go look at these politicians' websites and look at their issues pages. They all have it, especially the Democrat ones. They all look cookie cutter. And if you find something on there you don't like, go on their Twitter and ask them about it. Screenshot it, send it to them. And be like, what do you mean by this? And if they don't answer you, you send that screenshot and you send it back, see they don't want to answer it. This is the kind of moves we got to make, because all these other groups hold their politicians accountable for when they say something. We're not doing it enough at the same clip. We got to be more. That's the only way they're going to start taking us seriously, and all this symbolism bullshit they throw out there, that shit will stop, because the second you even think about it, damn, the BGR is going to come after us. New black media is going to be on our ass. We can't do this. But Juicy Genius, go ahead.
Peace and power to the family. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in the space. Shout out to the hosts and co-hosts. I just wanted to contribute to the discussion. This has been a really good, amazing space. One thing I wanted to just kind of highlight is the demographics of the city of Atlanta and surrounding cities, as well as the state of Georgia. Some of the reports of the Black demographic are misleading. Okay, so they're trying to say that only 30% of the population in Georgia is Black, but when they break down the demographics on other sites, you can see the majority of the top cities. Atlanta's population that's predominantly Black is 55%. So more than half of the city of Atlanta is Black. So when the gentleman indicated that Stacey is acting or running a campaign like she's running for mayor, it's because she's targeting the city of Atlanta, because there's enough Black Americans here that could vote for her to put her in office as governor. She doesn't go to Augusta. She doesn't go to Columbus. She doesn't go to Macon. If she did go to Macon, she'd know there's 67%. The majority of the population in this city of Macon is Black. South Fulton, which is right outside the southwest corner of Atlanta, is 91% Black American. If she was planning to win, she would have already secured the Black vote. And that's just my bottom line. This is her second time running. She had more than enough time to make a plan. She had more than enough time to put together a strategy and some policies that specifically benefit the Black American community in her state. Her own party has neglected her. Nobody from Washington is coming down and endorsing her campaign. Where's Kamala? Where's the Chucks and where's the Pearls? I said this in a space last night. Where your team at? Where your folks at that you've been stomping so hard for? They filtered so much money into Stacey Abrams' campaign after she lost the first run so that she can swing the state into a blue state by going out and manually, registering people to vote Democrat so that Joe Biden could win the presidential election. And then they folded on her. So at this point, they just thought, oh, because she's Black, all she got to do is focus on Atlanta and she's going to win it. But then she goes into a platform that's a grassroots platform that's connected to the community and tell a bunch of Black people like, oh, you all are not important enough to put a policy and plan for it specifically. So, yeah, she's not going to win. I don't see it. People are not just going to vote for her. They're just going to allow people that's going to vote for Kim to win. And that's just my state on that. So I'll land my plane.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. That's an interesting point that you brought up about Kamami not showing up. I'm sure they'll probably ask her if she hits double digits beforehand, that they're going to send Kamami down here within the next 2 weeks. Like, I think right now he's back at 7%, like 7 points ahead. Yeah, I think if it almost hits 9 or 10, she'll be down here, making some speech at some bullshit event. I mean, she's making the rounds talking to people like Cam Newton and Steve Harvey, so we already know what this is. She's really trying to pander to Black men again. So once she loses, it's going to be our fault, which is fine. I'll take that. I'll make a stream about it, and I'll laugh, hit the party poppers. It'll look like December 31st. I need this for the future. I need this.
There's no Black man on her campaign, for the record. There are no Black men.
Yes, ma'am.
You got to be kidding me.
No, I'm dead serious.
I'm dead honest. Her dad.
No Black men.
Her dad is not working her campaign, right? But she uses
no, he
her dad.
Right.
Yeah.
She set him out as a prop.
Yeah, that's a shame to me, and even with the pinned post on my profile in regards to the Black man requesting her championing legalizing cannabis at the federal level and championing reparations, she gave us a 5+ minute explanation on why it's not something that she can do. You're not even in connection with your own Democratic Party at the federal level because you've got your president pardoning cannabis, related offenses at this moment. What? You could have used that, what I'm saying, at the state level. They're playing hot potato with this reparations thing. Well, no, that's a federal issue. Well, no, we're going to give it to the state. No, it's both y'all issues because there's a history of the state and federal governments human trafficking people to build their institutions, to build their roads, to build their railroads and homes. No, you benefited from slavery, then you need to pay a debt. And you have the opportunity. Stacey Abrams has a real opportunity to make history. I mean, she will go down as the most historical human being on this planet because she signed policy. She did an executive order. As soon as you vote me in, I'm signing an executive order to release reparations to the descendants of enslaved people in the state of Georgia. She would have won by a landslide, not just being the first Black woman to be a governor, but doing something for it, for those people that she wants, for her constituents. So yeah, she folded. To me, she just folded on herself and she dropped the ball, and we're just going to sit back and watch it play out. So yeah. I'm sorry, last thing. Yes, where is Medea? Where's Medea at? Sis, Nikki, The guy.
I have no
BET.
Tyler
idea.
Perry.
Where is Tyler Perry and
He's
all of
at his
this?
expensive
The ultimate
studio,
nanny. Come on,
giving
y'all.
people some cheap wigs to wear in his movies.
But he didn't do the production on those videos she puts up, made by Tyler Perry Studios. He didn't get in.
I didn't see any of
Oh,
that.
oh, I get it. She don't come to Decatur. That's what it is. That's right.
Yeah, no.
She won't come to Decatur.
You don't really see her campaign trail. You don't even see Kim's campaign trail. And when you see her campaigning, she's out there with kids and the LGBT people. Let's be real. She is completely disconnected from the grassroots. She's not concerned with the Black voter group or Black voter base. And she just expects us to vote blue no matter who because she's Black. And that's supposed to be enough. But she doesn't understand that this generation of voters, we're not falling for the smoke and mirror anymore. We're done. And you're not going to abuse our votes. So, this will be a wake-up call for anybody running for office that think that they can just tell us to vote blue no matter who, and we're going to comply. It won't work. I'll end my plane. I hope you guys have a great Saturday.
Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am. You too.
Juicy.
Stay safe out there. Afro Elite, then Black Alpha, and then Tex Well.
Okay. I want to say, just to piggyback off of what our sister Juicy Genius was talking about, a lot of times they do lie about the numbers and they do lie about the demographics. Now, in 2020, we were told that Stacey Abrams swung the state of Georgia for Joe Biden. It was this hidden plan that she had apparently been working on for like 5 or 10 years that was able to swing the vote for Joe Biden, allegedly. That's what we were told, that he won all of these crazy votes, and that's what we're just told to believe, and don't look at the numbers or what makes sense. But what's interesting, and I've said this on YouTube, what's interesting is the fact that she can swing the state of Georgia for Joe Biden, someone who's never won the state of Georgia, one of the most unpopular political candidates, presidential candidates of all time, but she can swing the state of Georgia for Joe Biden, but she can't swing the state for herself. I mean, the way they were saying she swung the state of Georgia for Joe Biden, you would have thought she's like some type of superhero that puts on a cape and flies around saving children. You would have thought that way. I mean, you would have thought she was so super grassroots. You would have thought she has some type of underground Black Panther society that she controls by night. You would have thought that, the way they were saying she swung the state for Joe Biden. So I just want to know, where's all of that support? If you could plan something to swing the state for Joe Biden, and it takes, I think they said, what, 5 years or 10 years, something like that. If it took you that long, and you're that embedded in the community, I just don't understand how you're falling this far behind. I mean, let's be honest. What, if she's behind like 7 points, that's a significant number to be behind. It's not like 1 or 2 points where she ties and then she might fall back. She's been behind this entire race despite what she's doing. So I just find that very interesting. So I'm pretty sure, just looking at everything, taking all things into account, I'm pretty sure that some of the voting numbers that they claim Joe Biden got, I think that some of those are fraudulent. That allegedly, I feel like they weren't telling the accurate truth
Oh, I
when they
broke
said
that
that
down.
they got all those votes.
I broke that down months ago. She got the Black vote close enough to the white vote that she could sneak the Asians in. And even though Biden won, she can run on saying, see, it was Black people that did it, because Asians notoriously do not vote in elections unless it's just for their district. But the fact that these Asians showed up in 2020, she could hide them. But what I said earlier, NBC already did a whole article on them, and all these Democratic Asian pundits in places like Riverdale, which is right by the airport, and Chamblee and Dunwoody, which is where Chinatown is. They said they were coming for Atlanta, and they credit Stacey with letting them know for a decade on their radio station what's happening in City Hall when she was a city council member. So she already had the plan in place, and she figured this would curry favor and get her a job with Biden's White House, and he never called her. So she's been running around doing other projects thinking that, maybe she'll show her worth again. But now, 2 days ago, there's an article out saying that the AAPI are not happy with her because she hasn't done anything else besides that $49.5 million that Biden gave him. She hasn't done anything for him. She don't even pick up the phone for him. So their support for her is waning. They could go to Kemp or just stay home. She might get destroyed because right now they're saying if the election was today, half the state would vote for him. I think that number is higher, but you know how these polls are. But Black Alpha, go ahead.
Hey, that's a good point you brothers just made. A lot of the things that we said during the 2020 election and some of the skepticism we had about those numbers have come to light. We see exactly that. That's a good point Brother Afro just made. You know, we were told that Stacey Abrams swung the election and Georgia turned blue for the first time, but now the numbers just do not compute. You understand? Mind you, this is the second time she's getting served on the election poll. This is the second time she got defeated the last time. She's never won anything. She's the most inflated, overhyped politician pretty much of the last, 20, 30 years. She's, posted everywhere. They got her face in all these campaigns, but yet they get no results. So it shows you again that the 2020 election and a lot of the finessing that was going on that a lot of people in the black grassroots called is really, coming to light and is very true. Now, let me say this about the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. They really pigeonholed themselves into a lot of different positions that's going to be hard to come out of. Okay, particularly when you start talking about the Democrats. One of the reasons why, what's the girl name? Kamala, the reason why she's not really coming out here stooping for anybody because there's a little push right now in the liberal community to get rid of her. If anybody's seen Bill Maher, I think it was on was it yesterday or last Friday? They were talking about her perhaps not even running anymore. Now, liberal Bill Maher, West Coast, that's the home of the insane liberal. And that's an echo chamber of a lot of liberal thoughts. A lot of people in, the Democratic Party, the liberal community, they don't like her. Okay. She's not like really anywhere. Nobody's rocking with her at all. None. Okay. So there's even, being a push today to get her not to run with Joe Biden. They were saying, well, should Joe Biden not run? And now we're hearing, well, maybe he needs to get a new vice president. That's because her poll numbers are even worse than Dick Cheney's. Dick Cheney was the worst vice president probably ever. And she actually broke his record. It's bad when you breaking records of being the worst. That's a bad record to have. And her name's right on top of that. So they're even a push now to get rid of her. So she's not really coming out to any places because her voice doesn't lend to anything. She's not going to come down here and help anybody. It just does not work. All right. She can come down here and give a speech, but in essence, that's probably end up going to hurt the person. And one of the issues that they have down here in terms of the AAPI, one of the issues that they have is that in the South, and anybody who's been in the South, once again, it's a different dynamic. It's a very, very different dynamic. You can't talk all that minority stuff to Billy Bob the farmer. It's just not happening. Billy Bob don't want to give a damn about no rainbow agenda. He don't give a damn about no minorities, no POCs. So if they think they're going to have a platform based on catering to minorities, they're going to have a rude awakening. And this is what they're saying now. This is why they're upset right now. This is why the AAPI, IPPA, ABCD, that's why they're mad right now at Stacey Abrams and she's not answering their phone calls because she knew she gamed them. She was never going to get your average everyday Southerner to support something other than a Southern policy. And Southerners pretty much only know Billy Bob the farmer, okay, Jethro with no teeth and has got the meth trailer. That's about it, okay? And then brothers and sisters down here who are Christians. That is what the South is. That is the main populace in the electoral down here in Georgia. So I don't really know where these minority groups, fit in. If they're trying to push a minority-based people of color agenda outside of Atlanta, it ain't gonna work. I was just down in Brunswick the other day, which is in the deep, deep South. They're not going for that. Matter of fact, I will go as far to say, and I mean this, that the average person in the deep South of Georgia doesn't even come across an Asian. Doesn't in their day-to-day life, they do not see Asian people like that. Raphael Warnock, he ran a whole campaign when all of that, Asian hate crime thing popped off. He had a whole campaign in Savannah about it, and they don't even represent 2% of Savannah. So your average black person down here, and damn sure your average white person down here, they do not cater to minority-based policies. All they know is black and white. That is it. You can go back to goddamn 1972, 62, 52. You can go all the way back. These other communities were not present here. So if they think that they're going to base their political campaigns on catering to anybody other than your typical average everyday Southerner, they're going to fail. And we're starting to see that come to fruition and come to light right now with Stacey Abrams and Raphael Warnock. This is why it is very indicative for foundational Black Americans to get more business-like and more business savvy, to start negotiating and to start using these two parties against each other. There is a lot of progress that can be made by pitting these two against each other. because one, we're in a position where we're trying to get our tangibles, we're trying to get our things off the ground and we're building. Two, we have the numbers to do so. And three, we have one party that is a party that foundational Black Americans give 80 to 90% of their vote to historically that does nothing for us, while we have another party that doesn't like the people that the Democratic Party always uplifts. So that right there is a game where we could play in a business-like manner and we could pit the two against each other. Therefore, we can yield results that will better the foundational Black American freedmen experience, particularly down here in the South. Now, I'll say one more thing and I'll land my plane. If you start looking at the Atlanta process, like we were saying, Sister Juicy said it, Kid Gravity said it, it ain't like nowhere else in the South. So we cannot sit there and look at Atlanta and say we're going to duplicate that stuff and traditionally do it. This is why they don't come down here. They trust me. Stacey Abrams don't come to Savannah. She don't come to Savannah. She comes in, she probably goes to all the restaurants and then she leaves. Okay. She probably stays at the restaurants for a while and then she leaves. Okay. And then that's about it. Stacey Abrams has no weight down here. Raphael Warnock is from down here and he holds no weight. So it's time for foundational Black Americans to truly shift these people out. And we can easily do that by taking the policies that they use for minorities, using it against them. Because I'm going to say it like this, Billy Bob and Jethro ain't voting for no APPI. They ain't voting for no damn people of color. They're not voting for immigration at all. If they think that they're going to open the borders and pull the shit that they do in New York and California, in Alabama, in the Carolinas, in Georgia, in Louisiana, in Mississippi, it is not happening. And that is an opportunity that we could seize on. And right now you see a lot of foundational Black Americans that identified it, framed it, and we're going for it. Land my plane.
Thank you, brother, for that. Thank you so much. All right, Texwell, then Beatzilla, then Brandon.
Wow, brother.
And then Friedman after that.
What an
Yes,
political analysis, brother. I appreciate that. I want to pivot, if I may, to like local elections, because we know Stacey is like the Titanic at this point. So I think like I was wondering, what do y'all think about local elections? Like, if there's like a person running for school board, right? And that's where most politicians begin their careers, right? They go on from school board to councilman and on the way up the line to the presidency. Okay, now if there's a young person running for school board, for example, in your local area, and they didn't have money to run campaigns, but they actually are just like the people in this room. They believe everything we believe, right? Closed, no open borders, right? Lineage-based reparations, yes. Qualified immunity, abolish it. Mandated Black American history, yes. What else? Oh, sanctuary cities, be gone. That person is just like everyone in this room. They're running for school board, but because they didn't have money to run a campaign, we didn't call the candidates to find out what they stood for. We missed the opportunity. Don't we miss the opportunity to give somebody a start in their career? Somebody who will go on and take our agenda all the way up the line with them? That's my question to the room.
You're right. A lot of local elections do affect us a lot more. And we do need those candidates to not be afraid of saying it, because I understand a lot of them don't want to come out with their full views because they want to try to cater to everybody. But they have to also look at someone like Marcel, who he has a lot of things that people don't like about him, but he came to the Black grassroots and outlined his points, and a lot of us gave our support to him, which trickled down to everybody else. So for a candidate like that, yeah, they should come to these rooms, come to us and say, hey, I'm running for this in such and such district. Can I have like 30 minutes just to talk and show my platform? And then, we do what we do best is vet everything they say, make sure they're on the up and up. And then once everything checks out the way that it should check out, we'll put our support there, or we're like, all right, you know what, you're there, but you're not there yet. But I know we got to meet each other halfway somewhere. And that kind of starts with them first. Like I said, they have to come out and say, I'm running for this. We have to be made aware of that. because they both not fighting for black issues. So, like the brother Alpha was saying, Black Alpha was saying earlier, is, we got to create our own politicians and grow up from the grassroots and know, they coming from the foundation, they coming from the soil, that we built them up to, fight for our causes, and also, create a black political party, that's fighting for FBA, people that, that's going to have our best interest, and create a voting block that's big enough for us to put money behind the politicians that we grown from the soil to fight for our needs and our plights in this country. So, with that all being said, that's what I feel we have to do. And salute to all y'all, and let's keep this thing going. And as far as the, the title, black politicians, they are on the chopping block. If you're not fighting for FBA, if you're not fighting for reparations, if you're not fighting for the plight of our people, from education to everything else, to the water crisis and our infrastructure not being built up in our communities, you got to get on this chopping block. If you fighting for immigration and everything that don't benefit black Americans, you are on this chopping block. We sorry, we can't no longer vote for you and just vote Democrat and not vote the strategic. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta, get out these politicians in my city. It's over with. These, I'm in a Democratic city, and they not fighting for the plight of our people. Our people are suffering on both sides of this city, that we stand, so that I stand. So, it's time to get them. And like you said, it's good to vote locally, but we need some people that's fighting for the plight of black people locally, and what she said is true. At this point in time, unfortunately, the wrong thing that, older generations been telling us, vote for the lesser of two evils. But right now that we don't have the politicians that's in these seats, if you do vote, you do got to pick the best side, for, our plight in this country, which is not really going to do much. So I just say, just hold your vote. If you don't got the people that's going to do it, you didn't sit down and they didn't promise us anything, promise to do anything for us, I just say sit it out and continue to cultivate and build the people we need and build this political party we need. And with that being said, salute. I'm going to follow a lot of y'all YouTube pages and get in tune with y'all. I'm in tune with Afro Elite. I know what he doing. I know the main people of the, black media, with the Tariqs and all that, because they got a big platform. But I'm definitely going to start following what y'all doing, and hopefully y'all follow me and what I'm doing as well. And I salute to y'all. Thank you for letting me speak.
Yes, sir. Thank you for all that. Thank you. Thank you. Brother Ryan, go ahead.
Peace, family. I just want to kind of piggyback off of what the brother, I think it was Black Alpha, spoke on about the political pacts. During the Marcel campaign, when he was going against Clyburn, that was when it comes to the pacts. If you looked at when the votes were being tallied and sent in for to be official, even before 10% of the black or any votes were in, I noticed that Clyburn, he had already had like 10,000 votes before any of the other participants had even 1,000. And there's a reason for that. Those political pacts are very, very powerful, especially in the South. What you do is they get a lot of people these pastors at these mega churches. They'll get them in their pocket, put them in a pack, put them on the board of a pack, and they influence their churches to vote for whoever they decide that they want to support. So like with Clyburn, he's been around for so long that I mean, it's almost like second nature. Yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and vote for him. He's been around for so long. You got these old folks that's not on Twitter. They make up 80% of the black churches down in that area. And like I said, this is all across the South, where these people just vote down ballot. They don't care. I mean, even here in my city, you got black churches that they literally take the packs. So they have packs that they have here in my city, and what they'll do is they'll start passing out who the packs refer or decided to decided to put on their ballot, so that when the people get into the churches, they're passing out the pamphlets to the people in the church and saying this is who of course the pastor can't go up there and say this is who we're voting for, but you got the ushers at the front door passing out packs for voting. So I mean, it's a major thing. I can't speak for anywhere but in the South. But once those mega churches are already influenced, but their pastors are already influenced, I mean, it's almost like a done deal that all of the members of that church, or majority of those members of the church, are going to vote for them. And I saw that represented very heavily when Marcel was running for his position, because I mean, there's no reason at all that 10% of the vote is in and you got already 10,000 votes going for Clyburn. So I already knew what was up when I saw that happen. But I just want to land my plane on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Let me get Texwell and then Miss Grade 8.
Yeah, man. Great political analysis again. Great room, man. I really appreciate y'all. I'm just saying, like, I heard the young lady mention down ballot, but I was a little confused. She seemed to be saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, I just chose the lesser of two evils. I switched parties because I knew the Democrats were going to win. I just want to say this, y'all. Like, we got to weaponize our politics, right? And that means we got to weaponize it if you're a registered Democrat or if you're a registered Republican. Because, like, in the Virginia election, the gubernatorial election, right? Dude was running for governor, right? Now he got a lieutenant governor, a woman of Jamaican ancestry, who was saying that we need to forget about slavery, right? And the Republicans are going out here trying to bury your ancestors' bones. They want to do away with Black history in the schools, right? They want to dumb down not only white Americans, but they want to dumb down our children, right? And I know we want to homeschool, but we got 45 million families, and we can't homeschool all them families. So we got to make sure that our history is included. We got to hijack the education system like we hijacking the political system, where we mandate our history like the Jewish people mandated the Diary of Anne Frank, so all American children knew about the Holocaust and how horrible it was, right? And when we do that, people understand. You won't have stupid people saying, why do y'all get reparations? They'll know. Some of them already know. And I'm not saying they're going to all have a hallelujah moment, but you might get 1% of the white population that understands what you're saying, especially the young people. And they might jump on the scale with us, and then we'll pass reparations. Now, in terms of Republicans, if you can't stand the Democrats, which we all can't stand them, but if you can't stand them enough that you want to switch lanes and jump on and register as a Republican, then you got to go in there, like the brother said. You can't leave the Democratic plantation and jump on a Republican bandwagon and sing and be whistling Dixie over there. No, you got to go over there and be like a bull in a china closet too. You got to be hollering reparations on that side. Because when the people in Virginia, like if we had enough Black Republicans, like we have Black Republicans, but if they were on cold Black Republicans, they would have said, we'll vote for governor, the Republican governor, but only if you take your damn dirty hands off Black history. And that's how we got to weaponize this on both sides, so both sides feel the pain, and we got them, and we corral them up to the middle and pass our justice claim. So again, you got to train Republicans from the beginning that you're not getting a free vote either. If I got to vote down ballot, I'm going to vote. I can go in the booth as a Republican and vote for the ballot initiative. I can go in the booth as a Republican and just vote for one man or no man. See, down ballot doesn't mean you're required to vote for everybody on the line. It just means, first of all, we know both parties, the heads of both parties are against reparations. That's a fact. That's a fact. Joe Biden is against reparations. And the Democrats that support H.R. 40 are not putting his feet to the fire. They need to take him in the back room, close the door, and grab him by his collar. And then they publicly embarrass him that he's not supporting reparations. So they don't get no get out of jail free card with H.R. 40. That's a bunch of bullshit. So again, if you're going to switch parties, be it like a bull in a china closet in there and break up stuff, break the furniture. Don't go over there like a little simp and jump on a hay wagon and whistle. No, you're going to raise hell on no matter what party you choose. You're going to raise hell on either side, and then we'll force them up the middle to get our shit.
I appreciate the passion, brother, but you know damn well them coons ain't gonna go mess up their chance to get into the White House anymore. They ain't putting that man in no broom closet. They're gonna be on their knees saying, Master, you got to do this, please. You got to do this.
And that's why they can't be speaking at no reparations march. Sheila Jackson Lee and Cory Booker should not be speaking at no reparations march because they only support a bill, not reparations.
Yes, sir. You gotta take her and her Jamaican jerk drum out of there too. Make sure. But anyway, Miss Great Ape, go ahead and then Juicy Genius.
I just want to say that I think there may be a little bit of miscommunication here, but I'm not in the mood to debate or argue on a Saturday afternoon. I would ask Texwell and MP1 to please. I've been on this space since the very beginning, and I heard what Black Alpha was saying about being strategic. And yes, voting Republican if we are bleeding at the moment in the next 4 weeks, depending on the race, the election, the candidate. If you've got and he even said, and you all heard who were here from the beginning, if you've got a Dan Cox who's ready to who's ready to not make Maryland a sanctuary state and ready to stop illegal aliens from coming in versus a Wes Moore who is ready to make it a sanctuary state versus not voting at all for either one of them, I'm voting for the person who in the next 4 weeks is going to stop and do everything he can to not make this a sanctuary state. Now, I know we're all different. Some of us are FBA, some of us are ADOS. I'm neither one of those. I'm American Freedmen. We all have different ideas about how we should vote. I'm not degrading any of that. I'm not being derogatory. I'm just begging you both to listen to the space from the very beginning and really listen to what Black Alpha was saying, because I think sometimes we are quicker to listen to a strong Black man's voice than a woman's voice who are both making the same exact point. So just listen to the space from the beginning. I land my plane. Have a good weekend, everybody. I'm getting offline now. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And stay safe out there with your protest.
And for anybody who wants to know, this space is being recorded, but it's not being recorded on Twitter. It's being recorded on Kid Gravity's YouTube channel, and the link to his YouTube channel is in the Jumbotron, and it's at the top of his page.
Yeah, and it's also on Twitter on my page as well because I'm broadcasting it to Twitter as well. But let's continue. Juicy Genius, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm not in the position to speak at this very moment. I need a few minutes. You can go to the next speaker if that's okay.
Okay,
Yes,
FBA.
I just wanted to kind of reach out to Brother Alpha Elite. He had mentioned something about getting some, I believe he was like starting something to cultivate our politicians and getting our investor class together and things like that. I definitely want to be a part of that. So anybody who can reach out to me, get me in contact with Brother Black Alpha Elite, Brother Black Alpha Elite, please reach out to me. Anything I can do. Really, Juicy James, all of you guys, if you guys like, I'm a tool, so to speak. So if I can be used in any type of way to help us, man, please reach out to me. I'm here in Baltimore, by the way, if you guys didn't know. So yeah, if I can help or be any type of assistance or any type of thing, I just want us to keep going forward toward this reparations checks and getting our empowerment. So like I said, anything I can do, guys, I'm here.
If you ain't busy, get down to City Hall and help out Miss Great Ape with that protest. If you got the time.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, we got problems northeast, we got problems in the mid-Atlantic, we got problems in the Midwest, we got problems down south. Beatzilla, I see that Christine Darzin over there. She got Nancy Pelosi in her back pocket and Larry Hogan. Yeah, Maryland's going to Portland now. So yeah, we got problems all over the board. And now this Joe Collins character, who I mentioned earlier, he lost to Maxine Waters, got his ass handed to him, and now he's moving to a whole nother district, and he's about to lose to a goddamn Asian. That's why I said this whole Black politicians on the chopping block, man. These coons got to go. We gotta scrape that plate clean and throw it in the dishwasher, bring it back out, and like people were saying, start making our own candidates. because this ain't working. The only good thing that's coming out of this, hopefully for us, that's a major step, is a lot of these Black caucus members are retiring or their seats are in jeopardy. So if you know if your state has one of them on there, make sure they lose, because they're not doing anything. And I think a lot of them see the writing on the wall that it's a new day and they're not going to get that support anymore. Because a lot of our older generation, they're just not interested anymore. They're just voting just to vote, just to say that they did it, and they're not understanding the issues. And our issues are now more contemporary than theirs. Like, we get that you fought for civil rights. That's great. We're fighting now to make sure the next generations have a legacy. Because I think a lot of them don't realize that you did your civic duty, but you didn't set a lot of us up. And a lot of them also don't understand that a lot of their voting practices and their votes are ushering in reasons why we are doing what we're doing here. And we have to basically clean up their mess. So again, we have about a month to go. And you're going to see more and more of these politicians come out, bringing their celebrity friends, bringing like all these people that they swear up and down we respect, to try to tell us, make sure we stay in for another 2 years. Can't have that. We gotta make a stand here, because I'm telling you, if we make a stand here and we change the course of this country, 2024 is going to be vastly different. They're actually going to have to sit down and say, damn, it's over. We might have to go talk to them Black grassroots Negroes. We might have to come up with an agenda. And all these other races, you know how they like to copy us. They're going to do the same thing. So, like I said, we got 30 days to get it right. But if anybody else wants to speak, go ahead.
MP1, did you get a chance to speak? MP1, did you get a chance to speak? Text well. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I got a chance to speak. To the lady that left the room, yeah, I understand what you said. What she was saying about the sanctuary city. In that case, if you had to vote, Republican to keep, some of these immigrants out of the city, unfortunately, you got to make that decision. If that's the best decision, for the city, and he's actually trying to do something, for that city. So I agree with what you were saying on that part.
Yeah, her point earlier was that she would rather deal with Dan Cox, making sure that, and holding his feet to the fire about not making it a sanctuary state, and basically stopping that dam's leak for about 4 years, while she's creating someone that's going to that can take his seat in 2026 or 27, whatever the hell it is.
Oh yeah, that's a great plan. She was right on the money.
Right. And what Black Alpha was saying also earlier is, like, he and I, we have conversation. We don't fuck with either party, but if we're willing to take the Republicans and turn them against the Democrats and let them destroy each other, we should do that. Because like everybody's saying, most of them in them parties don't want Black folks to get reparations, because that's a lot of power you're going to give up. So take them, put them head to head, put the donkey and the rhino ahead, and let them fight it out. And then who's ever left, you grab them up by the collar and like, listen, now this is what we want. And if you want to stay in power, this is what you get. And if you don't adhere to that, and then you show them the aftermath of what happens, you're like, this will be you. And that's the only way you're going to get power, because every other race does that. They use each other against each other. So we have to start playing like that. I mean, we get too much symbolism, and we get content with that. And one other good point that came out of this whole thing with Russ Moore, he successfully, and this is never smart, he successfully pissed off the college class, the ones that are starting to understand who they really are. They're not African American. They're FBA, they're ADOS, they're freedmen. Hell, they could even be an immigrant that's from an immigrant family, but they're on code. Him not talking to them
and letting the white man talk to him, that pissed them off. Like Morgan State is heated at this man right now, and you're talking like I don't even know their numbers, but that's got to be over 10,000 people. That can sway an election easily. So again, we got 30 days. It could happen. It may not, but things like that we gotta seize advantage on. Like I'm trying to talk to this Jacqueline Jones who runs like the global journalism school. I want to try to talk to her and really get the flavor of it. That's how we got to do it. It can't be just us, like in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. We got to get to the young people as well. We got to get them educated. But Texwell, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to ride on that, brother. That's the key. The young people we have to, because we talk about cultivating our politicians, but we need to cultivate our voters, our people. And I still think that if we can't call these people, I think that's just like an easy way out. Are we afraid to call the politicians on the phone and run our list of demands, or are we having work avoidance? I think it's a worthwhile thing to train and teach our people that this is part of your civic responsibility, because we can't just sit there like a beauty queen and wait for these people to come to us. No, we got to get up in their face and say, "How dare you put your name on the ballot? What the hell are you about?" And then if we find out what they're about, we can tell our people, this is what this person is about. Don't vote for that person. Vote them out. And again, we got goony goo-goos on the left and we got goony goo-goos on the right. People black people that vote for Democrats no matter what. And we got black people that vote for Republicans in exchange for what? Nothing, right? So we got to pressure them so that, like, if we can't get our reparations, then nothing moves on the floor of Congress. We tie up everything. So they're going to need an X-Flax to get something to move in here. We can tie the whole system up. Nobody gets their laws passed until we get our justice claim. That's how I see it.
Yes, sir. I mean, even that's white supremacist Dana Lowe said it. She's like, I don't care if Herschel Walker aborted every kid he ever had. Something to that effect. She wants to win the Senate. So she understands the power dynamic that goes on in Congress. We need to I'm not saying adopt what she's saying, but understand that's how they think. We got to think like that. Like you just said, if it ain't reparations, it ain't black empowerment, it's not moving black people forward and making sure we stay number 2, working our way up to the number 1 voting block, then we're not working with you. And we will actively make sure that the people understand who you are, and you're not, your power might be going away faster than you thought. But Juicy Genius, go ahead.
I just wanted to talk about this Warnock versus Herschel Walker situation, just real quick. Just wanted to add this for
Yes, ma'am.
perspective in regards to party versus party, right? There are people. Well, for the record, Herschel Walker's campaign started before the presidential election. I'm here in Georgia. I've been here for 8 years, and I started seeing Herschel Walker's campaign messaging on TV, before the presidential election. Okay. So they have been committed to getting Warnock out of office for years. Okay. And people will vote for Herschel Walker just to get Warnock out. It's not about whether, he's doing a few little things. People always want to bring up this farmer initiative, black farmers laws and policies, as if there's not 100 other things that needs to be on the table as far as policies are concerned.
Sorry, go ahead. I accidentally muted you. I was trying to clap for you and I muted you.
Oh, I'm just running my mouth. I wasn't even looking at my phone. I'm so sorry. Okay. I don't even know where okay. So in regards to the Herschel Walker versus Warnock situation, people will vote for Herschel Walker just to get Warnock out of office. And again, like I was saying, that his campaign started before the presidential election, like before Joe Biden came in the office. Herschel Walker's campaign was already being filtered through, online ads and stuff, and TV ads, excuse me. So we are not committed to any particular party, but we're also not committed to the current running politicians that look like us but do not represent us or put any policies in place for us. So that's why there's several different strategies, several different initiatives that need to be implemented. One, clean house of the existing politicians who do not serve our needs by replacing them with grassroots developed, strategically selected politicians to fill their seat. Putting together political action committees, voter blocks, that's the initiative that I'm spearheading down here in Georgia, is to galvanize the people. You need the politicians, you need the people, regardless of the party. So I just wanted to say that. And then also to, I think she already left, in regards to some men not really considering the voices of Black women in this space or in this movement. That's not all 100% true, because if it wasn't for the men that listened to me, I wouldn't know as much as I know, because they were willing to share information and not look at the fact that I'm a woman, not think that, oh, what could you potentially do? You're not powerful enough. You're just a woman, and that's the wonderful thing about Black America. Whether you utilize foundational Black American, freedmen, it's literally all the same. There's no really differentiation, just who you roll with, basically. But we have to work together. We have to work intergenerationally. We have to work regardless of our political affiliations. We have to work regardless of our spiritual and religious ideologies and our movements. We have to work regardless of our classes in life. We have to work regardless whether we male or female, our sexual orientation. We got to put all that stuff to the side and focus on what we need to do to move our movement in the right direction, in a progressive direction, where there's actually solutions that are implemented and executed and solidified. But it takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of organizing. It takes resources. It takes people who are mild-mannered, respectful, who have, the ability and the skills and the know-how and the will. Everybody has a voice in this movement, and everyone can be used as long as they're doing it for the right thing. So that's why I feel like what we need to do, we need people in all aspects and all fronts. And we can't just sit around and wait for some, a few broadcasters or media outlets to give us instructions. One, research. There's so much information out there that we can use. Take some training courses and classes and stuff like that. All that matters. But I just wanted to say that last piece. I got to move on with my Saturday. I got so much stuff I need to do. I'm trying to actually interview some elders. And my philosophy, my strategy is targeting the senior living communities, independent senior living communities, and talk to them about their lineage, and just utilize
Oh,
that
that's
as
beautiful.
marketing. What
Oh
you
my
think?
God, that's a great idea. I
Thank you
love
so
old
much.
people.
I have
I'm
a
sorry
soft
for
spot for
cutting you off,
seniors and
but that
kids.
that got me teary-eyed. I think I'm gonna have to copy off of that.
Yeah. So listen, I don't. Okay, I'm saying that because there's really a reason behind that. I have no elders on either one of my side of my family. Somebody said I didn't know my parents. I know exactly who my fucking parents are. I know who their parents are, and I know who their parents are by name. Right there, it's all on record. That's one thing. um, but this is the thing, because I don't have any elders. The voices of the elders right now are monumentally important. So we as a grassroots need to show our support for our elders and our youth. So someone's going to pick up a youth perspective or youth strategy. I'm going to pick up an elder strategy. Let's go to these senior communities and these nursing homes and sit there and record and just tell me about your mom. Tell me about her mom, if you can remember that far back, right? And let's ask them, what do you want if you worked, all your life and you never get paid for it and you passed on? When you want your children to get, have these strategic conversations and ask these good questions and utilize that as content and material to move our message forward. So, I just wanted to share that with y'all. We're going to be all right. It's going to take people of like-mindedness and strategy to work with others who just, hey, just tell us what to do. You got the worker bees, you got the captains, and you have the organizers. We all work together for the greater good. So I just wanted to say that piece, you all. I love you so much. To my brothers, I love you so much. I'm going to stomp for you. I'm going to stick beside you. Period. That's my thing. And my sisterhood means so much to me. When I didn't have a mother, I had my sister, y'all. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak in the space again. And you all, I yield the mic.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and stay safe out there. The black family is the most powerful force in this country. Don't let nobody else ever tell you anything else. The black family has the power to destroy white supremacy, and they know that. This is why I say this election cycle is very important, because if we all stand together, we have the power to change the way this country thinks and moves. And they know that. That's why they're sending out the symbols, all these wannabe aunties and these Negroes to tell us, hey, vote for this person just because they look like us. That's what they're really telling us. They're black. They're representing you. No, we can actually read, sir. We're not walking around here with James Evans level education. A lot of us are tapped in with the book smarts, and a lot of us are tapped in with the street smarts. We know when something doesn't smell right. We know when something doesn't feel right. And it's incumbent of us as adults to make sure that we tell each other what's going on and have that dialogue. It could be heated, it could be nice, it doesn't matter. As long as the information gets disseminated correctly and it's correctly told, that's how we're going to win these wars. And they understand that. That's why they actively listen to what we're doing. They actively censor us everywhere. They look at our YouTube channels and they say, oh, he said a bad word. Hey, we're going to restrict it. It's a team effort, like Juicy said. It's a team effort, and if we can get everyone, if we get at least 80% of black people on code in this country, we would all be millionaires inside of a generation. But again, that's just hopeful thinking. But if anybody else wants to say something, oh, Hard Black Truth, you're up there. All right, go ahead, brother. Hard Black Truth, you can go.
All right, boss.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can unmute yourself.
All right. My bad. Somebody up in my dang face trying to ask me a bunch of questions. Hey, listen, I appreciate the space. I've been listening for a minute, man, and all of y'all threw out some very, very valid points, man. Nothing but fire to this. I appreciate the conversation. What I will say, you really don't have as much time in the next 30 days, but moving forward, folks, as they were talking about, voting locally and things of that nature, be more involved on a local level. Don't just cast a vote like Alpha was saying, just because you see a D, or if your preferences are Republicans. Don't just cast a vote for that. Make sure you ask questions of your politicians. And when it comes to your black representation, be at the forefront, because I say it all the time. When it came to vacant opportunities in my area, you had everybody jump in at the same time. Everybody wanted to get in, and everybody wanted to be the politician to take over. And what ended up happening, you had situations where you had majority black neighborhoods, and the black vote was so split up that the 30% of the other folks ended up with their candidate in office, because the black vote was just that split up. We were disorganized. And that's all I wanted to add to that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You made a good point. Even after these midterms, folks, November 9th, that starts the 724 days until the presidential election. And a lot of these people that are trying to go into the representative side of Congress, they're going to be back up again. So, I mean, as soon as we get all this work done in the next 30 days, we're going to have to just start it all over again. But at least after November, starting on November 9th, we'll be more prepared and we'll be more insightful of what we have to do. So let's just say out of whatever, let's just say someone like Joe Collins out in LA wins. He got 2 years. We got to make sure that that district full of black folks, Freedmen, FBA, they know y'all got to watch that man for 2 years. Make a list of everything he's doing and not doing, and make sure when he goes back up, he don't get back in. Same thing with us. I know the mayors and the governors are 4 years. That's even more time.
got to make sure you're making sure you're holding them to account for things they're doing and not doing, but also you got to start looking for the next candidate if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's a race, not a sprint. So it's going to be tough, but again, as long as we all stay on code and we know what we need to get accomplished, it'll be a lot easier than we think it is. So if anybody else wants to say something, say it now, or I'll just end off the space. All right, I guess I'll end off the space. Thank you for coming through, lending your ideas. Like I said, the playback's gonna be on my Twitter page. Like I said, I recorded it on Twitter, so it's there. It's also gonna be on YouTube, but unfortunately my internet went out for a few minutes, so some might get cut off. So yeah, but it should be fine on my page. But anyway, I hope everybody took something out of it. Give it to your people. Stay aware. If you do see something about Westmore, just put the hashtag no more, NOMOORE. Make sure if you see something with Stacey, you hit her with facts until she blocks you. I'm still trying to get that done. Joe Collins, Charles Booker, who I didn't mention yet, he's in Kentucky. I found an old tweet from last year saying he was for reparations, but I went on his page and not reparations wasn't mentioned not once. So if you're in Kentucky, I think that's like Louisville. Yeah, make sure y'all watch him because he's trying to go for a seat. Mandela Barnes up in Wisconsin, that's where Nikki's at. So I know Nikki's keeping on his neck. Yeah, so like I said, watch your local and state races and just make sure you vote the interests that are for Black empowerment and your people. And if you don't vote, just make sure your people that are voting have the information so they can go into the booths and make the right decision. All right, everyone, take care, stay safe out there, and the room is ended.